Hello everyone, this is Sean again with Booking with Sean, and I'm back with another episode. Now today what I want to talk about, since I talked about comic books last time, I want to talk about the comic book apps that you have out there to be able to read different comic books. The main ones I'm going to focus on are the ones from Marvel, DC, and the one that Amazon has that they acquired with Comicsology. So I'll give you a bit of background on each one first, and then I'll show you a walkthrough of each app so you can see how to use them. Of course, Marvel's is called Marvel Unlimited, and that gives you over 29,000 comics spanning the entire Marvel universe. You can do a 7-day free trial. You pay $9.99 a month, or if you want to pay yearly, it's much cheaper. I don't have that amount right in front of me, but that's how I pay for it. I think I paid maybe $68 at the time for the year of Marvel Unlimited. And you get these comics up to as current as 3 months out. So anything 3 months and newer, you won't get until they, release them later. So in the DC side, they call it DC Universe Infinite. And that one is more than 24,000 comic books at launch. I'm sure they'll add more as they go. And theirs is also, it's 6 months for theirs instead of 3. So you have to wait 6 months to read any newer issues that are out there. And of course, then you have Comicsology, which is the one from Amazon. Pardon me as I'm looking at the information. Theirs you can do a 30-day free trial when you first start. And that one is a mix of Marvel, DC, and other brands of comics. So you get a lot more comics to choose from, but the Marvel and DC choices are much more limited. But the Comicsology Unlimited is the one you would do, and I believe it is $5.99 per month after that. And that's actually, you have to have Amazon Prime as well to be able to do that. So that's kind of the overall gist of it. The Marvel one, the DC one, and Amazon's Comicsology. So coming up next, you're going to see a walkthrough of each app and how they work and which ones I like the most. Okay, let's go through these comic book apps. We're going to start with Marvel Unlimited. Obviously, with Marvel Unlimited, you need a subscription, which I've talked about earlier in the video. So once you get logged into the app, this is what you'll come up with. Of course, I've got some history in mind, so we'll go through that. But at the top, it's going to always show the most current things that Marvel thinks you may be interested in. You can scroll through all of those, spotlights and themes, new issues of certain things, certain events, that kind of thing. Then this is where your continue reading is. You can see I've been reading a lot of Spider-Man comics, so you can continue reading from there. And then they have different sections that they want to bring to your attention. In this case, they've got the Women of Marvel, some series recommended for you depending on what you've read. What is new this week? Popular series that's out there, the Infinity Comics, which is something unique to this app. And then certain events, like if you want to go back and read an event like they have the Sinister War or Heroes Reborn, it gives you a reading guide of the comics that you can go through for that. History of Wolverine, all that kind of stuff. That's on your home tab. Of course, you can search for series that you're looking for. By default, you can search for a keyword. Like I'll type in X-Men. And you can see there's the results down here at the bottom. I'll go back, and you can search by series, issues, characters, creators, reading guides. If you have anything saved to your library, it would show up here. And then, of course, your account info is at the bottom right. Let me open up a comic just so you can see what it looks like and what the app does. So let's just open this Miles Morales Spider-Man. As you can see, I'm doing this on an iPad, so the default view is just a comic book page, one page at a time. Scroll up and down. You can just tap or swipe to change pages. But they have another feature that's kind of unique. If you double click, it'll start focusing on one panel at a time, so it's easier to read, especially on smaller devices. So as you tap to go to the next page, it'll zoom in on the particular panel you want to do. So pretty convenient, especially for me and my old eyes. It's nice to be able to just zoom in on what you want to be able to see. If you want to get out of that, just tap in the middle and you can exit the comic that you're in. That's pretty much how this one works. I really like the way they've laid out this app and how it would work to be able to zoom in on panel by panel. But sometimes you do want to see the whole page. You can just get out of that particular view. So that's pretty much it on the Marvel app. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, now let's look at the DC Universe Infinite app. Obviously another subscription-based product, so make sure you subscribed and then you would be prompted to log in. Of course, I'm already in, so you don't have to worry about that. But as you can see, it's very similar to the other app we looked at. You've got things along the top you can scroll through. So they've got some recommendations. So I'll scroll through all the ones they have up there. And then you can see I started looking at one of these Batman comic books the other day, Fear State Alpha. So that's a continuation of that. They do have some latest releases out there. These are from September of last year, which is about right. They release the stuff that's probably from 3 to 6 months old. They'll release those as the latest stuff out here. Then, of course, they got series that are trending, so the stuff that people are looking at now. Some story arcs, like this one being Batman: The Long Halloween. Most read series. It gives you an idea of the different ones you can people have read the most. New issues daily of A Digital First. And this one is focuses on getting to know the Penguin character. And then staff picks, as well as, of course, they've got an ad for shopping and some essential DC storylines. This will be similar to what we saw in the other app, where they have different events, like this one's Deceased, Flashpoint. For everybody that's fans of the Flash, know a lot about Flashpoint. Final Crisis, Justice League No Justice. And then they focused in on some Batman stuff, and then looks like Superman, all that good stuff. So it's typical stuff that you can see in most of these apps. And of course, it is a paid app, so or a subscription. So like I said, make sure you subscribe to that. At the bottom, you can click on comics, and it'll show you all the comic series. And you can go and look at the storylines. They have a get to know. They also have a showcase feature where they're showcasing different things. You got your search like the other ones. You can search for the comics you're wanting. Even has a community option, which I didn't. Just looks like it just takes you to the web page for that, and a shopping link as well. But let's go back to home, and let's dive back into the comic I had open. And I'm pretty sure I had this in panel mode. Yep. Same thing with this one. You can go through a comic, just tap, and it'll go panel by panel. If you tap anywhere in the middle, you can change back to different views. I can change back to that view of the full page, which I would have to zoom in a little bit on this one. I don't like that particular view. If I want to use the whole thing, I zoom in and scroll up and down. But like I said, double tap on it, and you go back to the panel view to be able to view what you want to do, panel by panel. So it looks a lot like the other app that we discussed. A lot of the same features, and like I said, once you click on a release, it'll give you information about that particular comic, and you can read it, you can save it to a list. I think most of these apps let you download certain issues to keep offline to read, so in case you don't have internet. I believe it's limited to maybe 10. I believe that's the case. I'm not sure on the DC one, but you can read about that somewhere, I'm sure, in their help guides. But pretty easy app to go through, and so that's the end of looking at this one. And then the final app we're going to look at is going to be Comicsology. This is the Amazon one, which you can read a lot of these comics through the Kindle app as well, but I'm going to focus on the Comicsology app instead. Of course, this is an add-on subscription on the Amazon side. It's probably the cheapest one. It has the most comics that you can go through and look at off of different sources. So you've got some Marvel and DC, a limited amount, but then you also have things like Image Comics and Dark Horse and IDW. So there's a lot more to choose from on here. I'm in the library, which shows the ones I've already read or looked at, so it gives you an idea. There's some Marvel, excuse me, Marvel, Iron Man, some looks like Valiant Comics. So there's a lot of different ones. I'm going to hit Discover so you can see the different kinds you can get here. They have certain originals for Comicsology, so that original stuff that aren't normally what you would see for like Marvel and DC. It's different items as well. But they do have some Marvel and DC, as you can see, in this new releases. But then they've got things like Rick and Morty. They have some manga you can look at. Oh, there's a Power Rangers. So if you like Power Rangers, there you go. Like I said, Dark Horse, different particular ones. There's Attack on Titan. So, and then you've got even Diary of a Wimpy Kid. That's pretty crazy. But you can see a lot of different ones you can look at here. So if you're looking for an app that has a lot more to read and look at from different particular, besides Marvel and DC, this is the one you want to go to. As a matter of fact, I'll click on this one based off of the book. It's Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I've read those books. I didn't know they even had a comic, so let's take a look at it. And notice when you hit read more, it's going to go up, it's going to appear in my library. So let me go to library so we can see that one pop in here. And there it is. I'm going to click on it. It's going to download it. It's ready to open. Let's take a look at it. As you can see, the same format as the other ones, where you can just kind of scroll through. Let's wait for this to come up. There we go. Now this one, I'm going to double tap. It doesn't take you to the page like the other ones did. So let me see if they even had that option in here. Let's see what we've got. Nope, page animation turn. Nope, that's for bookmarks. So I don't necessarily see in this app a way to do what I did with the other ones. So I'm going to have to find that where you can view one page at a time. But as you can see, there's the different comics that you can look at there. Excuse me for sneezing there on you. But yeah, this one is a little bit less of friendly when it comes to wanting to zoom in. I mean, if you want to zoom in, you can, do your hands. Obviously, you can turn and you can view the comic one page at a time this way. So that's another route to go versus it looks like this one defaults to 2 pages if you have it turned the other way on the iPad. So the good thing is, like, if I just want to turn it, that makes it definitely easier to see and read. So so that's the good news about that one. But the app is not as intuitive, in my opinion, but it's still great to have a lot more to choose from. Matter of fact, you can see I love G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe was one of my favorite ones, but I only found one issue I could read. That was part of the free stuff, so I've got to see if I can find the other ones. But like I said, you want a bigger option of things to read, then you want to use the Comicsology app. And like I said, it's the cheapest subscription out there as well. Obviously, you have to have an Amazon account, and then you add this onto your Amazon Prime. So I'm going to open up Spawn here. That's one of the other Image comics that I've really been a fan of. So Todd McFarlane's art, great. It's some of my favorite that's out there. But it's going to go through and pull up all of the Spawn stuff from. So this was in May 1992. That's how long ago Spawn was created, but it's pretty amazing. So anyway, that's the overview of this app. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time. Okay, so now that you've seen all 3 of the apps, I'll give you a bit of an overview or a summary, basically, of what I think is the best one. Like the Marvel and DC apps are pretty close. Since I like Marvel better, I tend to really like the way that app works. But I do like the range of comics you can get with the Comicsology. So if you want a bigger mix, use that. But I'm not a big fan of the Comicsology app, as it has some drawbacks that, as you could see when I went through the video. I would say I haven't tried to read those comics in the Kindle app because you can. So I don't know what the additions are for that, but you can give that a shot if you want. But you definitely have to pay for these. There are comic book apps that are free, but you have to have access to the comic books themselves that somebody has, you acquired through some method, or you've got from somebody else, and those are usually in called CBR or CBZ format, and you can use those apps to pull them up. I wasn't focusing on those because I don't have any comic books that way. So Marvel, DC, and Amazon, that's the 3 you can choose from. And you may ask, why would anybody want to read the comics that way? Well, think about this. If you wanted to go back to the early days of comics in Marvel, DC, whatever, and go back and read all those issues, you would have to pay a lot of money to get all those issues to you to be able to do it. This allows you to digitally read and go back as far as you want. Let's say you want to see where Spider-Man started. You can do that in the Marvel app. So it's a great way to be able to go back and read all the comics from the beginning to end of the stories that you like, or at least the end. When I say the end, is the most current that you can read that's out there. So that's why. And plus, for me, being able to zoom into panel by panel helps me with my eyes being as bad as they are to be able to read the stuff a lot better than having the physical comic book. I still like to collect the physical comic books, but I will definitely read them online when I can. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll hopefully have some more videos coming up soon. Take care.